Hello there everybody, this is Tigitar here and welcome back to another Terraria video. I have a new Tigaria update for everyone to share. I was just checking on my last update video from the beginning of February it was, and there's actually quite a lot that I've done since then. So last time we just finished looking over the new furniture, die display, music blocks display and stuff. And since then I've added, I don't know, probably like half a dozen new sections or something. The first one that I went for since then was the consumable display. One thing I have added is this large spiral staircase that goes straight down underground. And I'll obviously need to polish it up, add some lights and all this stuff. And I'm going to build a little something as a structure at the top of the staircase to transition to enter to go downstairs and stuff. But down here we have all 70 potions slash flasks in this cool little sort of like wizardy potion brewing chamber. It came out pretty cool. And then fairly compactly nearby, right below, we have all of the food. There's 83 different food items, and they're all displayed both in item frame form as well as on their plate. And kind of an easy to see wall display type thing. I tried to go for some like sort of medieval like grand banquet hall theme to display everything in, and it turned out pretty good. I did use the echo painted item frames for all three of these little areas, and it worked out pretty good. I wanted to make it sort of darker. I think everything must be painted gray, except for maybe the planked walls, and that way the items themselves stand out a bit more, and they're all pretty easy to see. Even like the whatever these are, the midnight smoothies or the dark smoothie or whatever, I can't remember. Oh, smoothie of darkness, that's what it's called. And across the way we have the permanent consumable items. So all of the shimmery things, life crystals, life fruits, and not a whole lot other than that to say. There's I guess there's 16 of them for total. I made a cool little shimmer bottle up in the top of the room there that came out pretty nice. And then right on the side here, this is just the teleporter, which eventually will give quick access from spawn up to this point. But I think that that does it for the left-hand side here. Let's see. Actually, it's probably just as easy to go through the statue underground here. We'll go check out the other side down low, where I've added all of the accessories. Oh, another important thing I did was figure out how to connect the minecart rail between the left and right sides. So the minecart, after exiting the biome displays, will fall down these staircases, go straight down here, which is pretty straightforward, and then fall down again to the underworld, where it continues through there. But I didn't know how I was going to get from here up to the other biomes. So that's what the trick was, and I ended up just sort of finding out that I could zigzag up the staircase and still make it look somewhat decent by echo painting the ones that are in the foreground. So that worked out okay, and this continues the track all the way into the other biomes. So here we get to the accessory display. So I organized them based on pretty large groups, and I think each group is kind of labeled. We've got the miscellaneous ones, everything from the voodoo dolls to the building and fishing accessories, all the informational stuff. Down at the very bottom, this is sort of redundant, but I have the 28 different vanity accessories. All of these items are displayed in other areas, like the monoliths, which I had forgotten are technically accessories as well, are on display in the furniture section, and all of these other items are on display in the vanity section, clear at the very top of the world, with all the armor and the vanity items. So all of these were actually included, but I thought it would be cool to give them another section down here. So I do have the yo-yo accessories. There are 24 different dyed yo-yo strings and whatnot, the counterweights. But I did not include the golf accessories because those are all organized in the exact same fashion that I would have put them here up in the little golf club section up here. All of the golf balls are right here, so that's all there is to them, and I didn't feel like they would be they would add too much to this display, so those got left out. We've got all 88 of the combat type accessories right in here, definitely the biggest section. There are 46 wings, which is definitely a good amount. Down here also is the teleporter for future use to connect down to here. I didn't mention on the other side there with the consumables, but I do have light functionality. Over here, I've got a couple different light sources. This one just switches on and off the actual item frame. And then I also got a switch to turn off the lights on the floor to make everything dark. Then you can see which accessories actually kind of glow on their own in the darkness. We have the glowing fishing bobbers down there. Continuing with the last bit of the accessories, we've got the expert ones over here from the bosses, all of the boots. Other than that, the rest of the mobility type accessories are all grouped together right in here. Next, we'll just continue on towards the right-hand side here where I have been building. So, first build we will come to is the monument. This is the minigame monument. So here I wanted to build a structure to celebrate any progress or completion that people on the world have playing through the minigames, which there are currently 3 of. We've got Are You Smarter Than the Guide, which has 4 different collectible bauble items. Then we've got Downfall, same story with different levels to complete. And most recently, Gridlock, with 4 different stages of progression until you complete the game. So the monument, it's somewhat, it's kind of modest, but I think it has enough style to keep its grandeur on par with the rest of the build, so it works out pretty good. I noticed that I happened to have 4 Arcalis sets in my storage, so I went ahead and used them here as well, which actually look really nice on this little display as just Guardian statue figures, and so I think that adds a lot themselves. Next to the monument, we've got the NPC housing. So I went ahead and did a unique house for all 26 permanent NPCs. We'd be excluding the Bone Merchant and the Traveling Merchant and those type of guys. But I ended up building each one a little themed island for their house to go with the biome that they like. A couple of the NPCs I was building, or I themed with a separate biome, such as the Underworld theme for the tax collector, just because that's where you find him, and that theme fits him somewhat well, although it's not his preferred biome, which is the snow biome. There were a couple NPCs, though, that I totally got wrong. Like, I did not realize, I'm trying to remember now. The Dryad, whose house this is, actually prefers the jungle over the forest, and I don't know why. I thought it was the other way around. The guide's house I copied straight from Circa Terra. I thought it was an important piece to keep as intact as possible, so that one stayed the same. But all the other houses, they ended up fairly compact and small, but they all were able to hold their own unique amounts of character and detail. And having their own little island to support them is definitely a big upgrade over Circa Terra, but it did come at the cost of sort of shrinking the house size from what they could have been given this amount of space. I built the Wizard Tower upside down, which was kind of fun. For some reason, I always associate the painter with the desert, but he actually likes the jungle more than the desert. And so there's a couple, the painter, the dryad, and I want to say someone else who is actually supposed to be in the desert. The jungle. But as it turns out, the only NPC that I built a jungle island for is the witch doctor, which kind of isn't too big of a deal because I'm sure that if I built any more, I would have ended up with jungle biomes appearing and taking over the music and background. And I actually kind of like that this way it remains neutral as far as the background and music is concerned. And so I do like that part about it. And then the top 3 or 4 houses, I was able to play around with a little bit more space, given that there weren't any more islands crowding them out from up above. So you can see the Truffles house goes up pretty high. The pirate's little ship that I built him, that has quite a bit of space to it, although it's still like comically compact and packed into this teeny little ocean puddle that I made. The steampunker's house here also stands up a little bit taller on these little walker legs. I really like how this house turned out, actually. One of my favorites. And then the princess to finish it off up here with just a little sort of unique castle design, not the classic spires with pointed peaks, but a little rounded roof and some dome shapes instead. And next to it, I went ahead to continued with the plant display. I call it the arboretorium, sort of a cross between an arboretum, but indoors, like an arboretum auditorium kind of idea. I don't know. It includes all of the different types of trees on the inside here, and then just a whole bunch of other little platforms and trays and areas for growing all of the different types of plants. So I basically tried to include everything that I could, and I think I got pretty much everything you can imagine. I even have the water pools for the different types of cattails. I didn't realize this, but there are no hallowed cattails, only hallowed lily pads. However, for Crimson and Corruption, there are no lily pads, only cattails, so that's kind of interesting. Over here we've got the regular cattails and lily pads. Here's the oasis, which again, I didn't realize this, but oases or sand don't grow lily pads, only cattails. And then the jungle grows lily pads and bamboo. And then I do have a couple of the mushroom cattails, although these guys really did not want to grow for me. But the hardest thing that I found to grow turned out to be Abigail's flower, which I do have right up here on the very top here. And I waited like a long time for this to grow. I had gravestones just placed right around this green section, and granted, it's not all that much surface area, but man, it still took forever. And then after I got the displays set up and filled, I went ahead and just furnished it with a combination of marble and statue furniture, and then also living furniture to add to the plant side of things. Just in a couple sections, I replaced the floor with grass, and to keep it more alive feeling. So it worked out good. I like the outcome overall. So over here I do have all of the different rubble furniture, and this is actually something I kind of last minute adapted to and fit in here, because I didn't realize that it may have been something that I should have included in the furniture section, but I completely spaced that, so it ended up here, which is fine, I think. On the outside here of the arboretorium, we've got a little bit larger platform for each of the different tree types. And these do provide minimum or minimal functionality, like I could chop these trees and replant them as little tree farms. So I did want slight functionality as far as that goes, but overall it's much more display oriented as well. However, the next thing we have is the fishing display. And this display I just finished up yesterday, but other parts of it are still in progress, such as the underground component where I'll have the underground fishing pool and stuff. I need to build that in to complete the biome acquisition. But I ended up building a pretty good little environment here. There's two sort of larger structures that I built in to one to hold the big pool of the big lake for the main fishing, and then another to hold the main structure, as well as including the lava pool underneath here. And then there's also a small water pool that is here just so that if you want to fish for junk, you can do that in this little pool. So then I went for sort of a Japanese temple theme for the builds, put up this cool bridge that actually turned out really nice over the lake. And here's the functionality part of this build actually comes in really huge compared to everything else. I placed specific blocks so that I could manipulate having all the various biomes for fishing just on these very specific few blocks of area. So this was one of the coolest parts of this whole project. And I have, you'll see, most of the blocks for the biome creation are actuated and painted with echo paint right inside of the big, the right-hand side monolith here. And what I did is I left out 2 blocks of each biome, and then I took and measured out how far away, diagonally speaking, they would reach to the specific location I was trying to get to. So you'll see these blocks right up here. This basically represents the top right corner effect that this block will have. I forget the exact distance, but you can see roughly what it is from here. And then diagonally opposite from that, I put the same blocks to activate the opposite corner. So these blocks, along with, well, you can't see them on the map, these ones, some of which are kind of built into the main block of blocks, they only overlap in this very specific little section. So that's where the biome is created. Even if you stand between 2 of them, it just reverts back to forest. So that worked out really nice. I'm really happy with that. The only drawback that I did find, you can't combine Hallow with either of the Crimson or Corruption, because each Hallow block sort of cancels out the Crimson/Corruption blocks. So that's the only limiter there. But if I jump up real quick, I'll jump ahead to the Sky Lake that I actually built. Here is where I added the Hallow section. So there's a, if you stand right here, you'll get the Hallow, and there is no specific surface Hallow fish that you can only catch at the surface level and not in the sky. So this fully fulfills the sky portion / surface of the Hallow. Also included the mushroom biome here, and that's only necessary for the mushroom quest fish. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with an A. The main temple display building turned out pretty cool. I have a nice stone foundation, and then just various displays, various items displayed going up. Most of these, again, are sort of redundant. Even the fishing poles, those are included in the tool display, but they're not sort of all themed around fishing, so I thought it would be cool to put them all together. I built 2 gazebo islands for the actual fishing displays, which consist of the quest fish, all of them shown right here, and then all of the rest of the fish are in a exact copy of that design right up here. Something that I learned that's very interesting is the balloon pufferfish can actually be placed on weapon racks, and I had no idea. So this is the only accessory, to my knowledge, that you can place on a weapon rack. I think just because it's a fish. I also didn't know that you could place the regular material fish and potion requiring fish on weapon racks, but it is very cool that you can do so. Obviously, it makes sense that you can do the tools and weapons that you fish up as fish, but the only other weird exception would be the Zephyr fish, which is just a pet. Then the honey egg. Yeah, it's basically just an egg hanging from a chain. I was going to build a beehive, sort of attached and hanging off of the monolith, but as I did so, I discovered that bee blocks, hive blocks, actually count towards the jungle biome, and I didn't want a jungle biome appearing, so I came up with another plan, and it's plan egg. Came out kind of cool in the end, but it's still somewhat goofy. I also did include this teleporter just for easy access between the Sky Lake and the main fishing zone. This was before I added this rope, so the teleporter might not totally be necessary, but it is necessary for the ocean section, which I just finished moments before recording this. I built this little island out on the right-hand side ocean so that you can teleport here to do the ocean fishing. Sort of a compact miniature custom environment that I managed to make. Not really a whole lot else to say about it, but the texture and the feel and the shape definitely came out unique, and that's what I like about it. And we can also return back to the main portion with the teleporter. Now I've got the Sky Lake to go along with the regular floating island. This other floating island, as you might already know, is just naturally generated entirely. I did come and put this teleporter down here so that I could add a teleporter to explore it, quote. So I don't even know how much I'm going to alter this island. I might just leave it pretty much as it is and claim it as part of the base. But if you do count this floating island along with the Sky Lake, then the biome display now is totally complete. We've got all of the different biomes, including both variants of the floating island. So pretty happy with that. You can see where the whole picture is currently. And next thing I'm going to move into is the underground sections for both the fishing but also the plant display. I'll just need to add in the gem trees and see what else I come up with for that. And hopefully I've got space for that in this little sliver left over, but it might be tight. And that would just leave this section for the rest of the miscellaneous items. I'll have to take some time and figure out if there or how many other random items I'm missing and want to include. And then the vault section where I have the ores and the bars and the coins and stuff. That's I think the last remaining entire section that I do need to build in here. But even after the displays are all in, there's still a lot more work to do in the form of a few main things, which would be the minecart track navigation. I need to figure out how to continue that through the rest of the displays, because right now it only includes basically, it's only built through the mini biomes. So I'll need to figure that out, and then I also need to figure out the rest of the infrastructure for exploration and navigation. So I have a couple areas lined up, like in here I want to build this in as just a little, I guess a little subway type pathway that will, one, have the minecart track, but also be walkable with a character. And other than that, there's just going to be a whole lot of cleanup and polish and infrastructure connection. So I'll probably have a lot of time to spend on that as I start getting close to calling things somewhat complete. But basically, that's where it stands now. I hope that update intrigues some of you. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the progress. And other than that, the song of the episode, which we can't forget, is Shapes That Go Together by Aha. So go ahead and give that one a listen. And besides that, I hope you have an outstanding rest of your day, and I thank you very much for watching.